Baby goats are obviously full of charm, but they also come with plenty of challenges. I'll walk you through some of the joys and realities of keeping goats. So I've just walked up into one of our goat paddocks. This is where we've got our golden Guernseys. And if I shake the bucket of nuts, they'll all come over and say hello. So if you've decided to keep goats, what you've got to do first off is decide which breed you're going to keep. There are hundreds of breeds in the world, and there's about 11 in the UK. What we've got here are Golden Guernsey, obviously from the Channel Islands, as the name might suggest. A lot of goats have got different temperaments, different sizes, shapes and colours. So what you want to have is a breed that you really love. So do plenty of research and then talk to some breeders and decide which ones you want to keep. The Golden Guernsey is a very rare breed, produces a rich, creamy milk, fantastic at producing cheese, and is actually now known as the Royal Guernsey goat. King Charles has given them a royal status, which is absolutely wonderful. And they come in various shades, so you've got the paler ginger colour and then the darker ones here, and most of them are horned, so if you want them with no horns, you have to have them disbudded at birth. And the billies have got great big horns. Really lovely goat to keep. And in here, we've got the nannies, the females, with all of their kids. And you need plenty of space for goats. They like to graze, but mainly browse. So they will eat along the side of the hedge there. They love browsing. Obviously need hard food as well, that's rich in protein, particularly when they're pregnant or milking, feeding their young. And then they love roughage. So over here, we've got a hay rack that we keep topped up all the time with this really good quality hay. This is grass that was cut in the summer and provides them with roughage, and they have this all year round. And goats aren't particularly weatherproof. There are hardier breeds, like the Bagot, that we can look at later, but
They need shelter, as they haven't got the lanolin, the grease in their hair, like sheep have got in their wool.
so you have to give them a shelter so they can get out of the rain and out of the cold. They're very much an arid animal, really. They're like hot countries, but very suitable to the UK too. So if you're thinking about a breed, I would strongly recommend the Golden Guernsey. Let's have a look at the kids. So up here, we've got all the kids lying in the shelter here. Nice straw for them to lie on as a bed. And each kid will drink milk from its own mum. Goats usually give birth reasonably easily, and they'll have 1, 2, or sometimes 3 kids. And here they are all enjoying the sunshine. They're absolutely gorgeous. And if you do decide to breed, you can either keep more goats yourself and build up your herd, or you can sell breeding stock onto other enthusiasts. And particularly the Golden Guernsey, because they're so rare, are very popular for smallholders. So some of these kids I'll be keeping on the farm to replace the older nannies going out, and then the rest I'll be selling on. Right, let's go and take a look at another breed. So, in this shed, this is where the ewes, the sheep, will give birth, but also our goats. And here are the Bagot nannies with their kids. So with sheep, it's ewes and rams and lambs. With goats, it's nannies, billies and kids. And the gestation period, so from mating to birth, is very similar to a sheep. It's around about 5 months, and they give birth in the same way. The kids are born 2 front feet and nose first. That's the most streamlined position for them to be born. And because goats are slightly finer in their skeleton, in the way they're made up in comparison to sheep, goats tend to give birth very easily, but they are quite vocal. You can hear them calling for their kids now. Goats do make quite a lot of noise. And so before we turn them out into the field, we give them a little bit of an MOT. We check their feet, we give them a wormer to stop any parasites, we check them for lice, and we make sure that they're all fit and healthy before we turn them out. So I'll just grab one of these nannies, one of the females, and do her feet, and make sure she's okay. So, with a sheep, they're reasonably easy to turn onto their backs, but with a goat, because they're so wriggly and quite bony, it can be a bit tricky. So you just sit them down like that, hold them, a head between my leg like that, and then I can just hold them with my knees And then that means my hands are free to use the foot shears. Right, just sit on that side. So you want them on their rump, not on their spine. And there's the foot. A foot is made up of 2 toes, a cleats they're called. And you can see that they're slightly overgrown. So we trim our goats a couple of times a year. And these are some foot trimmers, very similar to nail clippers. And I just clip off the excess hoof. They're quite hard. Bagots, as a breed, have generally got very good feet. Some of the larger, more commercial breeds, the Saanen, the Boer goat, have got bigger feet and they're heavier animals, and they can be slightly more problematic. The Bagot is a more primitive, ancient breed and more self-sufficient and hardy. But as an animal, smaller, so less productive. Right, move out of the way. So there we are, you can see those toes are really quite overgrown in comparison to what I've just done. Okay, that's that job done, so I can let her stand up. Off you go with your smart new feet. So what we're doing now is we're treating these goats for worms. They have intestinal worms, so in their stomach they can pick up a parasite off the grass, and the worms in their stomachs can cause them problems. And so this is a medicine, a drug that kills those worms in the stomach before they go out onto the grass. And they can be particularly vulnerable when they've just kidded and they've gone through a moment of sort of stress. So that wormer will have sorted them out and they should be fine. Of course, the kids who have been born in the shed have never been on grass, and so they won't have any stomach worms at the moment, but it is something we'll check on in a few months' time. So it just goes on top of their tongue, and then Charlie pushes the plunger and it goes down their throat. And each goat has got an identification earmark, and that medicine record has to be put in a book. That's a legal requirement. So Charlie's just taken a picture of the tag so we can put it in the book. Okay, that's that lot done. What we're going to do now is get them back into a pen and load the nannies and the kids all into the trailer, take them out into the sunshine. Fantastic skills, Charlie. What we're doing now is we're taking the kids and put them in a separate section at the front of the trailer so that they don't get stood on by their mums in the short journey up to the field. There we go, so the nannies then naturally run in to be with their kids. They're secure in the trailer with the tarpaulin on the top so they can't jump out. We'll take them up the field. And that deserves a round of applause. Right, what we're going to do now is just take the goat kids out first. I'll pass them over to Charlie, and then we'll let the nannies out. Right then, little ones. Oh, I know. They're really beautiful little kids, and they've got horn buds already, you can see, coming on their heads. And that's a really good one, with a black front to its body up to the shoulder, and then white down to the back. And then Gwen's come to join, but she's not supposed to. Gwen, come on. In. Right then, there we go. Here we go, girls. So these kids have never been outside before, and you can see already they're settling in and they're being very adventurous and climbing on the rocks. So if you're going to keep goats, really important to have a shelter for them to get out of the rain, a hay rack, so you can feed them fresh hay. That one's got a lid on it, so it keeps it dry. and then a really good secure fence around the outside, and of course fresh water all the time. So there's a water trough in this field where they can get water whenever they require it. And that's them, settled. So fingers crossed, everything should be okay now and I can leave them to it. So now I'm going to go and meet up with a member of our team called Jade, who's got a little goat kid who's become quite a character. So over here we've got Jade, who works for us at the Cotswold Farm Park. Hi Jade.
Hiya.
Who have you got here then?
This is Cookie.
The famous Cookie.
Yeah, this is her.
She's really beautiful, isn't she?
She's a little character, bless her.
So breed?
So she is a boar cross Anglo-Nubian.
Yeah, which gives her those big floppy ears and a chunky body.
Definitely.
And is she very naughty?
She is rather naughty, although we're working on the training, but I think we've got a little way to go yet.
And why are you bringing her up rather than her mum?
So Cookie is actually off of a triplet. So as we've said before, they've only got 2 teats, so they can only support 2 goat kids at a time. So Cookie was the smallest out of all 3. She was really, really quite tiny.
Yeah.
So we brought her off and gave her a little bit of extra TLC and bottle fed her basically, because her mum wouldn't be able to support her.
And she's taken to the bottle okay?
She had some, it took a little while, so as we said, when she first came in, she was quite weak because she was so small. So it took a little bit of extra time for me to get her there, but now she's absolutely a trooper on the bottle, yeah.
And for someone who works with livestock, do you find great pleasure out of bringing something that's little and weak to a bouncing bundle of joy?
Absolutely, it's very rewarding, especially when you can help them out when they're starting off a little bit slower. But yeah,
It can be hard work, can't it?
It is, yeah, but it's very rewarding in the end, isn't it, Cooks?
Well, let's put Cookie down, because you've got personal experience of keeping goats, haven't you? Tell me about that.
Yes, so I've worked with sheep quite a while, so I wanted a little something different. So I bought 4 pedigree boar goats, actually.
And how was that experience?
It was definitely a strong learning curve. So they were a little bit tricky. So I worked closely with my vet to try and fix some problems. But
what sort of problems did you have?
So we had some issues, such as the common issue with goats of the stomach worms.
Yeah.
So we combated that, working really closely with my vet, so advising me on how to manage my pasture better, and also how to keep them nice and healthy.
So stomach worms were a bit of an issue. What else?
Yeah. So we had some problems with feet as well. So on the wet ground, they tend to get quite sore feet, right in between their toes where the grass and the mud will get. That's a problem that we had. So again, worked really closely with the vet to try and fix that. So gave them a bit more regular foot trimming, and we actually brought them in, obviously, so they're not on our wet ground. So
sure.
A bit of a recovery time from that mud.
And what about nutrition? Because they're a bit different to a sheep, aren't they?
They are. So I thought, actually, I was told they'll eat anything.
Yeah.
And from my experience, they're actually a little bit picky. So we grow our own hay at home. And some of the hay they were happy to eat, and some they decided they didn't like. So I had to definitely change some things with that, because I thought they'd have anything. But
I think that is a complete misconception. I mean, if you let them into your garden, they'll eat your roses.
oh yeah,
absolutely destroy the place.
Yeah.
But yes, their nutrition is absolutely key.
definitely.
And as far as their behaviour, I mean, they're quite mischievous, aren't they?
They are very mischievous. So I had one of the 4 named Revel, and I used to go down on the quad bike to check them, and I'd obviously hop off to look around everything. And the minute you got off the quad bike, she'd be there, jumped on the quad bike, on the seat, putting dirty footprints all over my seat.
Yeah.
But she loved being up high and getting into trouble.
I mean, goats just love to climb, don't they?
Absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic. It's so sure-footed. They can clamber up into bushes and onto hedges and onto walls. And yeah, absolutely.
Anything to get away from you.
And so would you keep them again, do you think?
I think now the situation's slightly different, and having had them, I've learnt a lot. So I think probably now I wouldn't myself, but I'm lucky enough to have the pleasure to work with them here with our goats here at the farm park.
I certainly adore working with them, but you're right, you know, you need to do your research, don't you?
Absolutely.
And you need to be fully prepared for the animals that you're taking on, whatever they may be.
Exactly.
Let's take Cookie back to her mate, shall we?
Yeah, let's go. Come on, Cookie. Come on then. This way, good girl.
So I really enjoy keeping goats. So much so, I've even got some pets. So I've got Richard here, this is Wilma, and then my favourite goat, Pebbles, that I gave to my daughter Ella for her 21st birthday party. So hopefully that's given you a good overview of keeping goats. And if you've got any tips or advice, then do leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, if you want to hear more from the farm, then like, subscribe, or ring the bell. There you go. Wilma, you're so greedy. There you go, Richard. I know, you're beautiful, Pebbles, aren't you? Beautiful.